Hey guys, Mike Frontera here, back with another retirement theory video. So today we're going to be talking about something that's often overlooked in the context of a financial plan. It's something that truly lays dormant until there's a major problem, and then we scramble to make sure that we had everything set up properly. And that is the importance of proper home and auto insurance. Now, I'm a licensed property and casualty agent, but it's not my area of specialization. So today, as a special treat, we're going to be talking to an expert who I've known for the better part of the last 20 years. His name is Nick Taylor Jr., and he's of Taylor Leonard of Glens Falls, New York. And a number of years ago, I formed a strategic partnership with Nick where I would send my clients to him. He would run a proper home and auto insurance analysis, and in a lot of cases end up saving my clients money. So, every client I've ever sent Nick has come back and thanked me for putting me in touch with him. So, very lucky to have him here today. So, without further ado, let's welcome Nick Taylor Jr. Nick, how's it going today?
It's going great, Mike. Thanks for asking. Thanks so much for having me. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. So first, I think a lot of people are probably thinking, hey, I really haven't thought about my home and auto insurance pretty much ever. So why is it so important? So I think a great place to start would be maybe to go through some of the, major financial repercussions. Maybe you have an example of what you've seen in your line of work, and maybe how it ties into the overall financial plan.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I look at it actually as part of your financial plan. Like you, Mike, I'm a financial planner. And, the very first thing that I discuss with my clients is risk management. And what that really means is, the world of insurance. And, the very first thing that folks should really do is make sure that, they're covered or their family's covered in the event of a premature death, disability, lawsuit, or catastrophe. So those last two words, lawsuit and catastrophe, they're really referencing, among other things, home and auto insurance. We live in a litigious society. And so, your legal liability coverage is extremely important when you're driving around your car or you're having people over at your house or things like that. So, in my view, the liability piece of a home and auto insurance policy is, if not the most important, one of the most important coverages to discuss. And really, many folks have not had a discussion with their agent or themselves or a financial planner like yourself in terms of how this coverage can come into play, how it protects them, and how much coverage they should actually have.
Yep.
One example of the lawsuit piece, to the legal liability piece, when people bring over their auto insurance policy for me to review for the first time, I almost always see $100,000 of bodily injury coverage,
Sure.
On these declaration pages. And that basically means their legal liability coverage. And so that basically means if they cause an accident, they're deemed to be negligent. Let's say they hit me, all right? And I had a $300,000 medical event. And it's funny, I just had this happen about 18 months ago. That my poor client fell asleep at the wheel. He was kind of a young driver. Before he came to me, he had state minimum liability limits.
Yep.
Caused a $300,000 accident, was sued, of course, for the $300,000, and I had raised his coverage up to the point where the insurance took care of the whole lawsuit.
Wow.
Versus if in the past he would have had an issue. So to get back to my example, you got $100,000 of liability, you have a $300,000 lawsuit. The insurance company is going to pay for the $100,000, but you got a $200,000 problem on your hands now.
Sure.
And what most people don't know is you can alleviate that issue for basically a $50 bill. On the catastrophe piece, you're thinking more about the home. God forbid there's a total or major loss. You want to make sure your house is insured correctly. And a lot of folks come in and I see that they're grossly underinsured. And so we make sure that we kind of patch that part up of their policy as well.
Interesting. I can't even imagine thinking about the financial ramifications for this poor kid if he did not have the proper liability insurance in place. That would have probably changed the whole trajectory of his life.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's just it takes a second, to have something
Yeah,
happen, and so yeah, the last thing you want to do is have to worry about several $100,000 issue, on your
right,
hands. That's for sure.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yep.
Okay, so a lot of times when I'm talking with clients, I'll ask them to see, a copy of their declarations pages. And those declaration pages, right? They show the limits of liability and the deductibles and all those kind of things summarized out. And most of the time when I ask people for this, or maybe if I just ask, what kind of coverage do you have? I'd say probably 9+ times out of 10, they have no idea.
Right.
And I mean, and when I first got my first car insurance policy, I think I probably called Geico or some insurance company that I'd seen a commercial for, or something like that. And I just said, give me give me whatever you think is good. And
Yeah.
at the same time, they were happy to recommend me a policy that would be right for me. And so, and of course, I took it. So how do you determine what is the right level of insurance to have, and why do you think most people really don't know, what they have, or even why they have it?
Yeah, well, first off, Mike, people are busy. They've got a lot on their plate these days, but people would be surprised just how quick and simple of a conversation with an agent can be, where you're going to uncover some of these more important considerations as it pertains to their life.
Yep.
And like I said, one of the things I simply do is explain the issue to folks. Like, for instance, the liability issue. Almost always, they'll kind of talk to me and say, "No one's ever explain that to me. That's really important." I said, yeah, it really is. And you walk out of my office feeling so much better that they can drive down the road knowing they've got the protection. Most agents or companies aren't financial planners like you and I were. They're not looking at those sorts of things. Insurance almost sometimes is looked at as a commodity. And let's say,
for sure.
let's save money. And really, home and auto insurance is a financial tool, and it's a huge piece of protection for folks. So, I'll basically explain to them the issue, and even better, when I work in concert with you, and we have a joint client. Oftentimes, they'll say, "Hey, look, Nick, talk to Mike about my situation." Okay. Yeah, and make sure that this policy makes sense in the overall context of my financial plan. And kind of have Mike, bless it to a degree, And so a lot of times it just comes down to simple, honest communication between the client and myself. And like I said, when I'm working with folks that work with you with their finances, to have that extra element of their trusted advisor kind of overseeing this and making sure. Yeah, it's a big win for the client, and it really is all we need. Just a little quick conversation about the important things.
So all right. Well, listen, we talked a lot about getting the proper coverage and why that's important, and I think it may lead people to think, wow, this is probably going to be expensive to actually do this the right way. Especially if we start bringing up things like, hey, you should look at an umbrella liability policy. But I mean, that's not really the case. I mean, having the correct coverage doesn't necessarily mean being more expensive, right?
Yeah, it's a common misconception. It's funny, in this day and age, it's almost better to be a new customer than a loyal customer of a company for 20 years. And I know it's counterintuitive, but the insurance business is almost like Spectrum. Spectrum, if you've been with them for 5 years, you're paying the $150 for your internet and your cable.
Yeah.
If you're a new customer, it's that $79.99 promotion.
Right.
So every couple of years, plan on us doing a true review of your policies to make sure that that you can get the very best rate with us.
Sounds like that's super important.
Yeah.
Well, listen, all right, Nick, I really appreciate you giving me and giving us such great information. I learned a lot of stuff. And what an asset to have someone like you who can do all this and take this whole thing off of a client's plate entirely. So what is the best way for people to get in touch with you if they are looking for you to help them analyze their situation and maybe even save them some money in the process?
Absolutely. I mean, that's our goal, Mike. I mean, our whole business is basically to make clients' lives simpler, easier, and better, to guide them to the right coverage, save them money, but almost more importantly, after that, once we get all that done, is to service them on a 24/7 basis. And a lot of times people think that's lip service, but as you know, and as my clients know, they're encouraged to use my cell phone, which is the best way to get a hold of me, Monday through Sunday, 24 hours a day. And I've had 11:30 p.m. calls. I've had 6 a.m. on Sunday calls with the basements flooding, and really that's my time for clients. When you really need, someone to basically walk you through a very very stressful situation, you're not gonna have to call an 800 number. You're not dealing with someone out in some state that you don't know. You're dealing with me, and you're dealing with me personally. And I think that the face-to-face and the neighborhood way of doing business is kind of making a comeback, and I love that.
For sure.
But yeah. I mean, my cell is best. Phone calls, text messages, emails all go to it. And like I said, I check it 24/7. So, and if you want to learn more about our agency, we're a 3-generation family business here in Glens Falls. Just recently won the Best of the Region award for the third year.
Right. Congratulations.
Yeah, we're really proud of that. So if you want to read up more about us and how we do business, our web address is www.taylorandleonard.com.
And again, thank you for joining me, and I'm sure I'll be talking with you soon.
Sounds great, Mike. Appreciate you having me, sir.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. I love talking to Nick. Such a good guy. So, do you have questions for me? If so, come visit me at www.retirementtheory.com or send me an email at mikefrontera@retirementtheory.com. Did you click subscribe at the bottom of this video or follow me on Facebook? I think that you should. You'll get to see videos like this on everything retirement planning. So once again, thank you very much for joining me, and we'll see you next time.